Welcome to the NBA Prop Report here at FTN Bets for Thursday, October 28th. Pretty decent slate of NBA games tonight, so let's get into some of the edges that we found here in the player prop market. The first one we're going to talk about here is Jaren Jackson points over 16.5. We actually project Jaren Jackson for over 20 points today, so we have a nice edge on this number. This number was listed at 15.5 on DraftKings, but it was juiced up to like 130, and a couple other sites at 15.5 have it over 130. And then most of the other ones that move it to 16.5, some of them even have this juiced up to like 115 at that 16.5 number. So to get 16.5 at minus 110, it's basically the equivalent of 15.5 at minus 130. In this case, I would rather take the higher prop number at 16.5. So I took on Caesars, Jaren Jackson, 1 unit, over 16.5 points for minus 110. Now, his teammate in this game, DeAnthony Melton, is another one who has multiple numbers that you can take out there in the market right now. The 12.5 number that he has is minus 104 on FanDuel. I actually took the over 11.5 points here at minus 125 on DraftKings. Now, again, 1 point scored is worth roughly 20 basis points to a payout here. So 11.5 at minus 125 and 12.5 at minus 104 on FanDuel, basically the same number right there. So I actually chose to take the smaller number with DeAnthony Melton because our projection was not for him being over by as many points as our projection was for Jaren Jackson at the smaller number. So I felt safer taking Jaren Jackson at the higher 16.5 instead of 15.5, but I would rather take DeAnthony Melton with a lower payout at the 11.5 than the 12.5. So those are the first two bets here. Next one I'm going to talk about is Rudy Gobert points. So Gobert rebounds was one that we've taken and made some money on. I'm going to switch over to the points here today because the number for the rebounds has been bumped up and the payout for the rebounds has been juiced down. So I do still like his points number though. Over 14.5 points here for Rudy Gobert, 1 unit on that. You can get this at a plus 110 number. So we actually project him for just shy of 16 points here on the day. So is that a massive edge from the 15 we need to cash this? No, not at all. But it is an edge. And the fact that we're getting paid plus 110 on it, so we're getting better than an even money payout on something that we think is more likely to happen. Those two things put together create a lot of value in this number for us. So Rudy Gobert points over 14.5 plus 110, next bet of the day. So let's see. We got a couple more here, a bunch in this Houston game. So let's get to this Houston game here. We have Daniel Tice rebounds over 5.5. We also have Jae'Sean Tate rebounds over 5.5. I actually took both of these numbers, right? So the top one's at plus 115. The Tate one is at plus 120. And the reason why I took both of them for half a unit, though, and here's the reason why. I do think that either one of these guys having a big rebound game could kind of cannibalize the other guy from having a big rebound game. So I don't know if we're going to get both of these numbers over, but we project Tate for 7 and Daniel Tice for a little bit below that, like 6.8. I forget. I think something like that was the number. So we do project both of these guys to go over the 5.5 here. And they're both at plus money. So even if we cash one and fail on the other one, since they're both at plus money, we will wind up with the profit for making these two bets here. Now, again, there's a chance both of them miss. There's also a chance both of them go over. We project both of these guys to go over. I did them each for half a unit. If they both go over, great. I'll be really happy. If one goes over and the other one doesn't, we're still walking away with a little bit of a profit. The only thing that would be a bad situation is if they both go under. But like I said, our projection is for both of these guys to go over. So I'm hoping I get at least 1 out of 2, if not both. The other number I like in this game is Kevin Porter Jr.'s points. I like the under on the Kevin Porter Jr. points. So we project him for a low number. It's like it's under 11.5 is what we project them for. And the number here is 15.5. So I think they have a tough matchup here today. I also think that he personally has a tough matchup and that there's a blowout risk because the team has a tough matchup, which are two things that are going to be negative for him because A, he might not produce as well when on the floor, and B, he might be on the floor less if the game does happen to get away from him. So this is actually my biggest edge and my biggest bet of the day. Kevin Porter Jr. under 15.5 points, 1.5 units. I took this on DraftKings at minus 110. And the last one I want to talk about here is Kyle Kuzma points. So we project Kyle Kuzma for under 11 points today. The number here is 12.5. So we would need him to get 12 points or less. like I said, our projection is 4 and under, and he's at plus 120 to go under this number here today. So when we're getting a payout of plus 120 on something that we're projecting to happen anyway, I think this is a pretty good bet here. Is there a chance Kuzma can go over? Absolutely. You know, he's going to chuck up shots. If he's hitting some of them, then yeah, maybe he does go over this number. But I do think he goes under it more often than not. And to be getting paid plus 120 on something I think happens more often than not, always a bet that I'm going to be willing to take there. So there you go. That wraps it up for the edges that we're looking at here over at FTN Bets.